Captain Midnight.
So I was not expecting this. I knew that there was an animated Miles Morales movie coming out eventually from the directors of the Lego Movie and 21 Jump Street, but I honestly had no idea that they were planning to get this ambitious with it. So first, let's go over what we know. We know that the newly titled Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse will be coming out in Christmas of 2018, and that it will star the Miles Morales version of the webhead. And, in my opinion, the weirdest part of all, that it's all about the Spider-Verse, which was a very fun arc in the comic that saw tons of different Spider people from different universes having to team up. Now, personally, this is pretty exciting, because I pitched a very different version of it in my After Homecoming Where to Take Spider-Man Next video. So finding out that Chris Miller and Phil Lord had a similar idea way before me is actually pretty exciting, and I'm fascinated to see where they can take this new animated branch of the Spider-Man movie franchise. But I also think there's a chance that Into the Spider-Verse could have a permanent impact on the landscape of superhero films, because something tells me that we've only scratched the surface of what multiverses can do on the big screen.
Energize Spider-Man, the motorized web. It pulls, it lifts. The spider light to climb at night.
For those who don't know, Miles was a character created for the Ultimate Universe, and first appeared in Ultimate Fallout No. 4 in 2011. Things had come to a close for Peter Parker in the Ultimate Timeline, and after a decade of great stories, Brian Michael Bendis decided to shake things up by moving on from Peter and turning his attention to Miles. The character exploded in popularity, and has even made his way into the main Marvel universe, sometimes fighting alongside the original Spidey himself. This movie has a lot to do then, because not only does it need to set up Miles' origin, his relationship with his friends and family, it also has to set up the Spider-Verse, and probably include a few more Spider people as well. And by the way, we still don't know how the movie is going to get around his dynamic with Gank being almost directly lifted for Peter and Ned in Homecoming. That would be really weird to see them try to do twice, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. But if it's one thing Lord and Miller have shown through the years, it's the ability to make really entertaining, really funny movies out of premises that might not seem like the best at first glance. But why do I think Into the Spider-Verse could be a huge deal for comic book movies as a whole? Well, as I'm sure most of you already know, blockbuster filmmaking has become increasingly driven by franchises, not stars. So in 1998, studios would release something like Armageddon, counting on the star power of Bruce Willis and Ben Affleck to carry the movie to a massive box office. This happens less and less now, with studios counting more on the brand, the franchise itself, to be the biggest factor. As great of an actor as Tom Holland is, there's no denying that most of the people who went and saw Homecoming saw it for Spider-Man, not Holland himself. For better or worse, in the modern movie landscape, brand names are everything. So how does Miles' movie fit into this? Well, for two reasons. The first is that introducing the multiverse concept makes it very easy to create even more new Spider franchises. You could introduce like Gwen Stacy's Spider-Woman in this one, and if people like her, why not give her an animated movie too? She could have a movie set in her own universe without even having to affect the continuity of other Spider-Man franchises. And that's just one example, because there's dozens upon dozens of Spider-Verse characters to pick from. The second reason is that this multiverse concept makes it very easy to reboot things. And that's why I have a sneaking suspicion that the DC Flashpoint movie is set up to do a similar thing. Ben Affleck doesn't want to be Batman anymore? No problem. He can go his own way, and we can stick with the shiny new Batman actor straight out of the multiverse. This would mean things like the hard reboots between Maguire and Garfield, and then Garfield and Holland, just wouldn't be necessary. You can decide for yourself whether this is a good or bad thing for superhero movies and honestly film in general, but it's hard to deny that it's a very enticing concept for movie studios who want to keep their big franchises rolling.
Spider-Man and his amazing friend, Iceman.
Getting back to Into the Spider-Verse itself, I'm very interested in how it'll balance its huge concept with Miles and his cast. We see for a split second in the trailer a look at the Prowler, aka Aaron Davis, who you may remember as being played by Donald Glover in Homecoming. So it looks like the Prowler's arc will play into this movie somehow, which I think is great. Anyone who watches this channel regularly knows that I prefer my supervillains to have close connections to the heroes, and it's hard to get much closer than family. Honestly, I'd be pretty excited to see these two in a movie without the whole Spider-Verse thing. Their troubled relationship was well defined by Bendis a few years ago, so I think it gives them a lot to work with. But this trailer also leaves us with a ton of questions. We can tell that much like the Ultimate series, Peter is dead in this reality. But presumably thanks to some Spider-Verse plot shenanigans, it looks like he appears for a few seconds near the end. So who is this Peter Parker? Unlike Miles and Aaron, we have no idea who's playing Peter yet, and Sony seems to be playing it very close to the chest. My first instinct is to fanboy out and guess that either Tobey Maguire or Andrew Garfield is reprising the role. But who knows? I do think that getting one of them, especially Maguire, would be pretty great, and I'd love to see a passing the torch film from old Spider-Man to new. Now there's a chance that he could be Tom Holland. My guess is Marvel Studios wouldn't sign off on that, this being a Sony Animations movie. But if you have any ideas, I'd love to read them in the comments. I could go on all day long about all the different versions of Spider-Man I'd like to see make an appearance, especially Spider-Man 2099. But getting back to the impact that it could have, I really do think that the success or failure of this movie could make a huge difference. Will audiences be okay with accepting not just one new Spider-Man, but a bunch of them? And will casual viewers walk out of the movie completely baffled why Tom Holland's Spider-Man wasn't in it? To be fair, it's worked on the DC's CW shows okay, so who knows? Only time will tell how people will react to Into the Spider-Verse. But if it's a huge hit, I have no doubt that other studios will take note, and maybe even get into some multiverse action themselves. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and blah blah blah. I just wanted to let you know that I am trying to be more active on social media, so feel free to follow me on Twitter or Facebook. I have links in the description. And I will see you next week for some serious Star Wars talk.